Hey guys, this is Tiffany again with the Nerdettes, and I'm here to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead called Monsters. And I've been reviewing this newest season ever since episode 100. I recently got into it about a year ago. I've caught bits and pieces of it prior and read some of the comics. But yeah, this last year I really got into it hardcore. But yeah, I've been trying to review it with this newest season. And this episode, I love episode titles with hidden meanings upon, meanings upon meanings and stuff like that. So this is no different. Monsters is a pretty good episode. I really like the title more than I like this episode, I think, just for various reasons, and we'll talk about that. But basically, we've still got Morales pointing the gun at Rick, just like it was before. And of course, it goes back to Eric. He's very badly wounded and he's bleeding profusely, and he's telling Aaron to leave him. He's like, "You've got to go, leave me here," and basically tells him, which is true, you do the same for me. So reluctantly, Aaron leaves to try to get help or something, and plus to get away from the zombie horde as well. So it goes back to Morales and Rick, and they're having this discussion, and basically Morales reveals that his family didn't make it, that they died, and he kind of makes an offhand comment. He's like, obviously Officer Friendly died along the way too. So, here's another thing. This episode title, Monsters. It almost makes you kind of wonder who's monster and who's not. Like where they've kind of developed for all of these characters. Are they a monster? Some of them have changed from monsters into who they are now, or maybe even become a monster in some ways. He almost causes Rick to, or wants to kind of have Rick kind of look at himself, because he used to be like the guy that wants to save the world and save everybody, and he's kind of evolved into who he is now, which is like, it's a weird precarious bridge, because he's stuck somewhere, I think, between, he wants to kind of save some people maybe, but there's this other side of him that sometimes comes out that's every man for himself, like survival of the fittest, and, more mouths to feed, kind of like the weak don't survive kind of mindset, instead of trying to help the weak. So I don't know. He's in this weird kind of crossroads of what he himself could become. But yeah, so as they're talking, Daryl comes in and shoots Morales in the head with an arrow, and right as Rick looks like he might not make it, and Rick thinks he was getting through to Morales. He's like, "Don't you know who that was?" And Daryl says, "I know who it was. Don't matter." And here we go again. Like, what is Daryl now? He came in. And a lot of people could say, "Oh, it's self-defense. He was saving Rick, etc., etc." But it's up to your own judgment. Like, what do you think? What do you think who is monster, who's not? So anyway, it goes back to zombies, which are attacking Morgan and the crew there, and the way that they do the videography yet again this season is interesting. Like they do a one shot where Morgan's like bashing a zombie, and the blood flies and hits the camera lens, so you can it's almost like you're looking and involved in this like big chaos that's going on here. And during this assault from these zombies, these prisoners try to escape them. So Morgan sees them escaping, because he's at this kind of crossroads as well, because he went from kind of, pretty much delirious, out of his mind, to learning from the art of peace and learning from his mentor, to where he is now. And I mean, he had a very strict vow of peace and of not killing anyone. And now he's at this weird place where I don't even know if he understands who he is right now, and hasn't really had time to have any self-reflection. So I mean, he's kind of riding on a wave of anger right now, which is really interesting, considering where he's so recently was in that mode of peace. But ever since, I think what triggered where he is now is the death of his friend who he was training to use the bow staff. I mean, ever since that happened, he's digressed yet again, and I think or regressed, if you will. So he follows these prisoners who try to escape, and he does manage to kill one of them, and it looks like he does. He at least knocks them out, or I'm guessing he kills them, and like Jesus confronts him, or he confronts Jesus. They kind of confront each other, yeah. He's like, look, they do not deserve to live. They've done horrible things. He's almost passing judgment on them for their actions and for joining the saviors, and just kind of like, we need to end this now and just move on. And Jesus talks about war and peace, and how during war sometimes things can happen that cause there to be a reason for peace, and these people have surrendered, and it ends up in a huge debate, and Morgan finally just starts beating up Jesus, and Jesus is very skilled. Like, we've never really gotten to see like Jesus's like hand-to-hand skill, and now we do, because he's fighting Morgan with his bow staff, manages to get it from him and hit him a few times with it. Like, it's almost like cat and mouse, and almost like he's playing with Morgan a little bit, because he's obviously not a pushover. Like, he knows what he's doing. So Morgan finally leaves, and like he's like, I'm done. He doesn't agree with the way things are going, I guess, with like not holding these people accountable or punishing them like right away or killing them. So he leaves, and but yeah, we also see Rick and Daryl. They're having like a shootout with some saviors. Rick manages to shoot this fire extinguisher to give enough of like a fog cover for them to escape out of there, because this is them coming out of Morales, where he was at, to basically try to escape from this compound. And basically it goes back to Gregory. He's back at the hilltop trying to get back in, and Maggie answers. Like, she kind of partially opens the door, and obviously is turning her back on him. Like, he's showed his true colors, like we knew all along. He's been singing like a canary to the saviors about their plans, about what they were doing, like giving intel to the saviors, knowing what they have done, especially to Maggie and to Glenn and Abraham and goodness knows who else. I mean, so she talks about how he doesn't deserve to be there, but it's ironic, he begs her for mercy, which goes back to the previous episode title. He calls her out, asking her for mercy, that that would she literally leave him out there to die. And part of her kind of wants to, but at the same time she's at a weird crossroads herself, because of what she herself has been through and her own evolution. So she ends up letting him in, and it's kind of ironic because it goes back to this episode title again, because when the saviors, the prisoners show up, Jesus is leading them to the hilltop, and Gregory has the gall to call them monsters. And it's interesting because he's calling them monsters, but look at what he's done. Like, is he a monster? Like, I mean, in my opinion, is it like, saving himself, Sorry, I had something like a hair in my mouth. But yeah, I mean, he basically, is calling them monsters and not having any kind of reflection on himself and his own actions. So I found that ironic, and basically, Jesus tells Maggie, they surrendered. They, should be able to kind of be held, and I guess for questioning or something. He offers to put them in the like compound and like this back area and like the small housing area maybe. But yeah, so we find out unfortunately that as Aaron sees, Eric is a zombie. Like, he goes back to the tree that he was laying against whenever he left him, and he's gone, and there's blood left, and he's like, where did he go? And he looks up and he sees Eric's zombie self just kind of, trudging towards the rest of the zombie horde. And it really breaks him. He breaks down and cries. And I mean, what would it be like to lose your significant other, your partner, your spouse, your loved one like that? So of course he's having to deal with this. And which brings me to the next point. Rick, actually, we had seen this baby in a previous episode, and I mentioned it. Her name is Gracie, and Rick apparently has rescued her, and Aaron takes her. He has this kind of epiphany that he needs to, this is what maybe Eric would want him to do, and, he wants to take this baby back to the hilltop where there's a good doctor that can take care of it and everything else. So he decides to take this baby and bring it to safety. And then Rick is almost shot by a savior. It's like a young boy, like maybe early 20s at max. And he tries to shoot Rick and nearly succeeds. And Rick, basically confronts him, gets him to step out and put up his hands. And him and Daryl ask him where the guns are at, and he tells them that they're at, I think he said Gavin's. So they've learned that that's where the guns are, and he obviously dies by Daryl yet again, someone else. And basically the episode ends with the kingdom at the base of one of the Savior's, I guess, hideouts, or one of their main bases of operation. And the Saviors are shooting at at Ezekiel and at Carol and the kingdom from this upper window of this building. And what's sad, it's sad and ironic, and you almost see it coming. Like, Ezekiel's looking around, he's like, we haven't lost one person. And of course, if it seems too good to be true, it most likely is. And he seems amazed, like it is too good to be true that they didn't lose anyone. And no sooner does he say that than the Saviors start shooting at them. And you see many of the group fall. So who knows who all is affected and hurt and possibly dead. I'm sure we'll find out in the next episode. But yeah, this, talking about titles, like this one, I feel like it applies to many things. Like, obviously, the Saviors, Gregory calls them out to be, which is where this gets his title. But, Gregory himself is a monster, and it makes you look at, is Negan a monster? Like, he tells these people to say, like Morales says, I am Negan, look at Rick and Daryl, where they're at now. Look at Morgan and what he's become and kind of evolved to, and obviously he left. Look at Carol, like, she's kind of transformed more into, she went from being really unable to, from being abused by her spouse, and her daughter being abused, to this woman who was independent and able to take care of herself and defend herself well and be an essential badass, basically, to where she is now, and almost like a like a calm, stable-minded, still able to defend herself, but I think Ezekiel's had a very good effect on her in a way, because, like, you know, she's fighting for a good cause almost, she believes, and it's brought her to, like, this kind of, you know, worldly understanding of, you know, she almost gets Ezekiel's constant optimism, and it's rubbed off on her in a profound way. So, you know, just seeing how each of these characters are progressing in their own ways, like, you know, you're starting to wonder, you know, who's really fighting for the right reason, who's not, who's, like, where are all these people? Because, I mean, at this point, after everything that each of them has been through, like, they're all going to be at various stages in their lives, like, in dealing with this epidemic and dealing with their current situation with the Saviors, just everything in general. So it's really interesting to think about, in my opinion, but, you know, that's just me. And obviously that's my review of this episode, titled Monsters. Would love to hear what you guys think, you know. What do you think about where these characters are at? Let me know. We'll definitely continue to do more of these reviews of The Walking Dead. We will also review Ruby, as well as, of course, we're reviewing The Orville and Star Trek Discovery, and we'll continue to review more things. So when Doctor Who starts, I got you. We're going to be, we've already reviewed Stranger Things 2 completely, so check that out. We're also going to be reviewing Game of Thrones when it comes back, and many other shows, so definitely check that out. We also do unboxings of Loot Crate, Loot Anime, Scotch Watch Japanese snacks. We actually recently just did that. Check that out. It's awesome. We do Owl Crate. We have Anime Bento, and I've got Fandom of the Month coming. I need to check on that tracking, actually. And I do Think Geek Capsule. So check out those unboxings here. We have so many awesome goodies that come out of those that are just unique and fun, and just hopefully you guys enjoy those. We're also giving away a copy of Destiny 2, so if you want to win your own copy, check out that video of how you can win a copy of Destiny 2 for yourself or a loved one, just in time for the holidays, and we'll be giving away more awesome stuff leading up to Christmas, so definitely check that out. There'll be a lot of awesome stuff that we're giving away, so definitely keep an eye on that. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, so you can get those giveaways first before anybody else. So definitely subscribe. We really appreciate you. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thenerdette. Yeah, I can't even talk. The Nerdettes. But I really appreciate you guys watching. Hope to see you back again soon, and thank you again. Bye.